Okay, here we go. First step in designing and thinking about your coil pot. A couple things I want to point out to you. This file you have actually to look at. It's talking about the basically the anatomy of a pot here. What the pot stands on, of course, is called a foot. If the body of the pot is down low, they'll tend to call this hips. If the body of the pot or this curve is up high, it can be known as a shoulder. Anything that comes up, that protrudes, can be considered a neck. And then you have a lip or a rim. Not all pots have a neck. If I design this to come right up to a rim, it might not actually have a neck, or not very much of one, right? And lip and rim, so it all basically how you change and move these shapes around will start to determine what your pot, and in this case your vase, is going to look like. So you are supposed to look over. I have a bunch of silhouettes for you. You should be able to see that in the assignment right away. And you can look those over, and there's lots of different silhouettes. You might just find one that you like. But I also wanted you to look a little online, spend a little time looking at vase shapes. Now this vase here is not ceramic. It is, I don't believe it is anyway. I definitely see that it's got some sort of silver kind of work, this filigree work that's going on here. It's possibly on glass. It could be maybe blown glass. I can see this looks like a little bit raised, so it looks like this could be something that's been applied to a glass form. So the reason I'm picking this is to show you that it doesn't have to be a ceramic vase as your inspiration. Okay, and I'm going to look at this and look at a couple of things. I might think this pedestal foot here might be a little bit extreme, so I'm going to probably change that as I design it. But overall, I like this shape here. And then I'm going to begin with just some blank paper. Hopefully you have something. It doesn't matter if it's lined paper, white paper, a sketchbook. It really doesn't matter. Just if it's 8.5 by 11, which is standard paper size, right? 8.5 by 11 inches works out best. And I'm just kind of looking here. I'm just thinking about what is this shape going to look like here. What do I like about it? I like that it's coming in. This is a little bit straighter. Sometimes if you just take your pencil and kind of go over the shape, it gives you an idea of what's happening. Alright. I like a little bit of a foot, but this is a little bit extreme, that pedestal. It's very nice when it for this pot here, but for a ceramic pot, I think that'd be a little bit extreme. I might even just, I don't know, maybe I'll just kind of go like this. I like that it comes in, but I don't really know about that pedestal. It gets a little bit complicated. All this in and out, that's so something to point out to you. Anything that's got a lot of in and out becomes very complicated to build, right? Likewise, though, something that would be very straight is hard to build. Okay, so this neck here, where it kind of goes and then goes straight for a while, it's hard to build something completely straight. All right, it's a bit challenging. Okay, whereas just natural kind of curves become a little bit easier to build and keep control of. All right, and so that's what I'm designing here off of my inspiration, and then just kind of making some edits. So look at this. See, there's no right or wrong. There's no I shouldn't say there's not a right or wrong. Well, I guess my point is you can make mistakes. It's okay to think about this, and it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical, because in the end we're going to only use half of our drawing. But you can try drawing both sides and getting an idea of what it's going to do. A little rim, something like this. Something very simple, all right? Some things that you want, because I was going to say there are some right or wrong. Some things you really don't want to do is you don't want a rim that is wider than the pot, okay? What might that look like? So if you are building a pot, and then you have this wide rim, all right, it looks like it's going to tip over. All right, so you don't want an extra wide rim, and this tends to want to collapse as well. All right, so this is a no. Also, extremely wide bottoms that go narrow. It's complicated to build. It's very wide like here. It looks a little like the pot is sinking into the ground, and also your walls tend to want to collapse as you're building. So this is also not a good design. You don't want either one of those. You want to try to find some balance between there, and your rim should almost always be narrower than the widest section of your pot. Does not have to be narrower than the foot, but it has to be narrower than the widest part of your pot, depending on where it is. And I think if you look, most of those silhouettes I showed you will follow that rule. I think there's a couple that have these like wide rim kind of things, but they're not, overall those tend to be ugly. You are also not putting handles on. Okay, there's no handles in this project. They're just complicated. We want to make these the nicest vase we can, and handles aren't necessary for a vase. So then once you do that, so what you will submit to me, digital files, you just take pictures of them with your phone or something, is your sketch. And if you do a bunch of sketches, you can show me a few sketches. If you're not sure what your best pot is, feel free to send me a couple of them and say, what do you think is the best one, Mr. 80, before we start. I'm happy to give you feedback. So I'll have your inspiration photo. This could just be a file you find online or something. Your inspiration photo and your sketch or sketches. All right, and that is the way we will begin this project. Thanks.